everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Claudia. So today I'm going to be doing something completely different, and this is going to be more on the lifestyle part of my channel. I've spent the last about 13-14 months really just focused on fashion, and my whole channel has really been focused just on that. And now what I wanted to do is try to also provide you all with lifestyle things. So I feel like recently I was online and just like doing some homework and researching just YouTube channels. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of really fashion, when it comes to fashion channels. I mean, there are so many different people doing bags and purses and shoes and accessories and things like that. But one of the things that I haven't really seen a whole lot of, and maybe they're out there, I just haven't come across them, is someone who's actually providing you with fashion, but also with lifestyle. And I think lifestyle can be so many different things. But for me, what I'd like to do is just be able to offer you just content on important topics, right? Maybe they're important topics to me, but I feel like if they're important to me, I'm sure they're important to a lot of people. And I want to be able to give you some content, some really important information on, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a nurse, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a counselor. I mean, there are just so many different things about me that I think a lot of my followers and even subscribers don't know. So I really want to be able to just, start sharing a little bit of my background and share some of my just experience when it comes to lifestyle. Some of the things that I'd love to be able to offer you guys are going to be things like exercise and what works. I mean, I don't like to share my age, but for this video, I will. I'm over the age of 40, and, things change, your body changes, and you don't, lose weight, and the things you eat they just work differently in your body. And there are a lot of different things that we have to do to maintain and just keep ourselves healthy, or at least feeling healthy, from, health and fitness and wellness to just things like how to raise your boy to be a strong man or your daughter to be a strong woman. And I mean, I've got all these really great topics from, how to choose your career, how to keep your connections. And, the one thing that I just really, really love is the part of being just open with you and being able to be candid with you and just be able to hopefully, get some other followers as well that maybe aren't so involved or so, interested in the fashion piece of what I do. I know that's a very select group of people that love fashion and luxury and things like that. But there's so much more to me than just fashion and accessories and handbags and shoes and things like that. And I think that there's so much more that I can offer all of you. So I'm really excited to be adding this part to my channel. I hope that you guys will give me feedback and just give me some candid, honest reviews and comments on some of these topics. For today, what I want to do is I just want to share a little bit about myself and who I am. And I think that might help you understand once we start going through the lifestyle piece of my channel. But who am I? So I'm Claudia. I am some of my background. I grew up, with immigrant parents. My dad was raised in Mexico, and so was my mom. My dad was actually born in Texas. He was a U.S. citizen, but the culture and where he was born was, everything that he knew was, the Mexican culture. And, when I started growing up and getting older, my parents only spoke to me in Spanish. So Spanish became my first language, and then I learned English. But some of the things that I noticed early on, my parents were really hardworking. They worked very, very hard. But one of the things that I was never really pushed or even, that it was never even discussed was about going to college. College was very foreign to me. I remember being in high school and just looking around where I lived, and I thought, gosh, I really want a better life. And how do I get a better life? And the first thing that I thought about was maybe I have to go to school and I have to go to college. I think college will get me what I need. And it was interesting because probably around the age of 16, I started to realize that I had more ambitions and goals than I ever thought. Before that, I think I was just kind of stuck in the environment that I was living, that I didn't know any better. Most of the people that I lived with, it was a pretty poor neighborhood. So a lot of the people that I went to school with weren't necessarily, focused on going to college or advancing their careers. They were just focused on graduating high school and getting out. And, one of the things was, when I was in high school, I was a senior in high school, and I found out I was pregnant. So as you guys can imagine, having a baby when you're 18 years old, about to graduate high school, is not most people's plans. It wasn't my plan for sure. At the time, I didn't know what to do. But what I knew was that I was going to have this baby and that I needed to do something for myself. So I had my daughter. I had this beautiful little girl. in November of 1996. And that following January, which was January of 1997, I decided to start college. You know, one of the interesting things was when I first went to college, I tried to apply to college when I was expecting, and I was in my senior year. That summer was brutal before I had the baby, but I tried to apply to school. And one of the things that I found out was that I couldn't enter college because I didn't have all of the college prerequisites that I needed when I graduated high school. And, you know, unfortunately, where I grew up, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about going to college. And even the guidance counselor at my school, I never even heard about what classes I needed in order for me to get the core 40 and things like that. I just graduated with bare minimum. So little did I know that it was going to affect me when I tried to apply for college. But I do remember starting, you know, I went to Purdue in Indiana, and I walked into the Purdue school thinking that maybe I was just like this dumb, naive young girl thinking that I can just walk into a school and apply for college and get in. I don't know what I was thinking. I probably wasn't thinking very, very clearly anyway. But I remember walking in and I was talking to a lady guidance counselor at Purdue. It was Purdue, one of the campuses at Purdue. And I walked in and here I am with my belly and I'm telling her that I wanted to go to college and I had all these aspirations and I wanted to change my life and I wanted to be the first college graduate in my family and all these great things. And I remember the guidance counselor looked at my records and she said, "I'm sorry, but there's no way you can actually enter college. You don't have the prerequisites. You don't have the SAT scores. It's impossible to start school." And she said, "Sorry." And she just pretty much left it at that. I remember I walked out of that office in tears. I was crying. I was hurt. But I think what happened was like reality sunk in. You know, I felt stuck. I went back home with, you know, I think I was at the time like 6 months pregnant. And I thought, what am I going to do now? I guess I thought it was going to be really easy to just sign up for school and start college, but I didn't think about all those other important things. But again, the environment that I was being raised in, I wasn't thinking about those things. You know, nowadays we prepare our children and we tell them, hey, get good grades, get your SAT scores high or SAT scores and take college preparatory classes, take AP classes. But, you know, keep in mind, you know, I grew up with parents that barely spoke English. They were immigrants, didn't have college graduates in my family, so they didn't know any better. So I remember leaving that day from Purdue, going back home, and I cried. I cried probably for a few days. I cried. And I don't know what it was in me, but I remember I went back again. I went back again to Purdue 2 weeks later. And this time I had a different counselor who actually met with me. And it was a gentleman, a man. And I remember I walked into his office and I'm sure I looked probably pathetic, but I'm here crying and I have this belly and I'm begging to start college. And he told me the same thing. He said, you know, honey, you don't have the classes that you need to prepare yourself for college. We can't just put you in college prep classes because you'll fail. You're not prepared and you don't have the scores. He said, I'm so sorry. And I sat there and I cried and I begged. I literally begged. I said, please, I have to go to college. And I said, there is no other way for me. I have to go to school. And I said, look at me. I have a baby in my belly. I have to give this little girl a future. And at the time, I didn't even know I was expecting a little girl. But I said, I have to give this baby a future. And I have to do something with my life. Please help me, help myself. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? Maybe there is something you can do. And I said, I'll do it. And he said, well, don't you want to know what it is? I said, I don't care. I will do it. And he said, well, there is one option. He said, we can put you in this track. It's a college preparatory track where you would be in college anywhere from a year to 2 years. And you will take non-credit classes for up to 2 years. And all these classes they're going to be pass or fail classes. But if you keep passing these classes, we can get you to college preparatory level. And if you pass this 1 to 2 years, depending on how quickly you progress through math and English and all these different subjects, we may be able to get you into college classes. And I said, I'll do it. And I remember that January, I signed up and I started my journey. I started taking these non-credit classes, but they were college preparatory classes at Purdue, which I didn't even know they offered this. So those of you, I don't know if they offer it today because this was a really long time ago, but they did. And you know what? I'll tell you, I was so grateful that I was given that opportunity. I utilized every resource I was given. They had a writing lab at Purdue. They had a math tutor. They had just all these different just resources for me, and every single thing that I needed, I had at my fingertips, and I utilized it. I was at the writing lab weekly, getting my papers corrected or working through math problems that I was never prepared for. So I will say, after about 2 years of taking non-credit classes that didn't really count towards a GPA, I was finally accepted into Purdue, and I started my journey. And you know what, I will say, there were people in these classes that quit and gave up. And I know a lot of people were upset that they weren't getting credit, but I was just so grateful that I was given this opportunity. So I started this journey, and I stayed at Purdue for a few years. I minored in Spanish, but then I ended up transferring over to Indiana University Northwest, and I was accepted into the nursing program there. And I started my journey in nursing school. I graduated from nursing school in 2004. And as you can imagine, I mean, during this whole entire time, at the time I was married, I had married somebody that I was with when I was in high school. He was a few years older than me. He was the father of my daughter. I had actually married him right after I graduated high school, before my daughter was born. We got married. Big part of it was I needed health insurance, and I needed to figure something out. But we got married, and I had my daughter. And then a few years later, about 5.5 years later, I had my son. So we were together for almost 10 years, and that relationship didn't work out. But I got married, got divorced, I graduated college, and I was really on my own. I was ready to conquer the world and start my journey in this world. And it wasn't the easiest life, especially the early childhood years. I mean, I can talk to you guys more and more about some of the obstacles and the things that I went through as a child, which were really difficult. But I want to focus more on all the positive stuff. So I did go through, I finished nursing school. I became a surgical nurse, an OR nurse in 2004. And I worked in surgery for a really long time. And while I was working in surgery, I just, I loved it. I loved it. I had aspirations of going back to school and becoming a nurse anesthetist. And really just, I was able to see myself doing that. And, after, I went through what I went through with my ex, I met somebody else at work, and, I just fell madly in love, and he had 2 children of his own. So it really kind of worked out. It was a blessing in disguise. But, we ended up getting together, and we ended up blending our families together. And, we got married, many, many years later, but we got married almost 10 years ago. But, it was an interesting life, having my own 2 children, but then also meeting somebody with 2 children and trying to be a stepmom and trying to be, a co-parent, to other children as well, and being a co-parent to, with my kids and my ex. I mean, there were a lot of challenges and obstacles, and these are things that I really do want to share, just experience, during, the different videos that I put out on, how to be a good co-parent, and how to be, how to blend your family, and, how to be a good stepmom, step parent. I think those are things that a lot of us really, really have to think about, especially if we're in those situations. Or if you're somebody who's thinking about leaving someone, or a divorce, or heartache and things like that. I mean, gosh, I feel like I've been through just about everything, that possible. But, I think you guys are going to learn a lot more about me as I continue on in this journey, and I'm able to share more and more about myself. But I will say, like, back in 2011, I went back to school. I got my MBA degree as well, and I decided that my husband and I wanted to become entrepreneurs, and we wanted to get into the space. We wanted to start helping people, and that's really what we've been doing the past couple of years. We really have gotten in the space of mental health, and really just being able to offer mental health and addiction services to people, even people like me, nurses and colleagues, and a lot of people that are just like me. And also be able to help the families, because I think sometimes we forget about the families as well, who have been hurt or are struggling with somebody with a mental health disorder. So, I think there are going to be a lot of really good topics that I will be able to put into my channel that are going to be more related to lifestyle. And, I do still plan on doing some videos on fashion. I don't want you to think that I'm just going to stop doing those videos. I want to try to get a nice, good balance of both, and I don't know how it's all going to pan out, guys. I mean, I'm being really candid with you. I don't know, but I really want to give it a shot. I feel like there's so much more about me than just fashion and purses and shoes and things like that. I feel like I have a lot to give, and I've got a big heart, and I love to help people. So I hope that during this journey, some of you I hope all of you will stay with me, but I know that some people might leave because maybe this isn't the kind of information you're looking for. But I do really hope that you'll stick around, and hopefully I'll get some new followers as well from this. But I'm really excited to be able to offer this part of my channel. So I really hope that you guys will continue to come back, and please give me feedback and leave me some comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. But what I'm going to be doing is my next video is going to be coming up next week, and I am going to just start with some of these different topics. So if you guys have a request or an idea or something that you want to hear about, please let me know, and I am going to do my best to try to cover as many topics that I can. But I'm really excited about this part of the journey, so please give me some feedback, let me know what you think, and I hope that I will see you again.